Hello, teacher and classmates. My name is Yana Laura Alba de Leon, and in this video, I'll explain the main ideas from the article exploring the impact of cognitive principles of Douglas Brown in ELT, published in Indus Journal of Social Science. And I prepared a graphic organizer to support the explanation. So at the end, I will share my personal reflection of how these principles apply to my teaching practice. So now I'm going to talk about the cognitive principles by Douglas Brown and how they apply to the English language classroom. These principles help us to understand how students learn and how we as teacher can support them more effectively. So let's begin. The first one is automaticity. This principle refers to how learners become fluent when they practice language in mindful and repeated ways. As a teacher, I try to design like tasks that allow students to use the language naturally, like through speaking activities, games, or role plays. The second one is mindful learning. Uh, Brown explains that students learn better when they can connect new information with what they already know. Eh, Almost all the time in my lessons, I always try to include real life examples and activities to relate the students' interests or to their daily lives. The third one is anticipation of reward. Here, the idea is that learners are more motivated when they expect something positive, like praise, success, or recognition. That's why I constantly give positive feedback and celebrate their progress, even when we're talking about small steps, because it keeps students engaged and motivated. Well, the fourth one is intrinsic motivation. Brown highlights that internal motivation is more powerful than external rewards. I try to encourage my students to set personal goals and remind them of the real world value of learning English, like for travel, communication, or even personal growth. The fifth one is strategic investment. This principle says that every student learns differently and invests efforts in their own way. I try to support this by teaching different learning strategies like summarizing, organizing ideas, and self assessment so students can find what works best for them. And talking about the sixth one, the language ego, this concept refers to how students often feel nervous or insecure when when we talk about learning a new language, especially when we talk about speaking. And I always try to create a safe space in my classroom where making mistakes is normal and part of the learning. For the seventh one, we are gonna talk about risk taking and confidence. Uh, this one says that learning a language requires taking risks, especially when we talk about speaking or writing. And with my students, I try to build confidence by encouraging participation, praising their efforts, and helping them to feel comfortable expressing themselves in English. Um, these seven principles really help us reflect on our teaching and make our classroom more effective, dynamic, and and it helps to our students to learn better. So these principles have helped me reflect on the way I design my lessons. For example, I include repetition and practice in content to promote automaticity. I try to connect grammar and vocabulary to students' experiences for mindful learning. I use a combination of collaborative and individual strategies to meet different needs. And I always try to create a space where students feel motivated, supported, and confident. So, to give my personal conclusion as a teacher, I've realized that understanding how my students learn is just as important as what I teach. Brown's cognitive principles remind me to see each learner as a whole person, uh, someone with emotional, cognitive, and motivational needs. And I will continue to use these principles to improve my teaching strategies, focusing on students' autonomy, confidence, and long term learning success. In the end, our role as a teacher is not only deliver content, but it's also guide, inspire, and empower learners.